Hi, my name is Folarin Oyeleye. I'm a managing director of a global bank. I'm looking forward to sharing my story.
Thanks, Folarin, for joining us. Looking forward to hearing more about your amazing journey. So, tell me, what is it you do today?
I am a managing director at a global bank. I sit within the private banking division of that bank. I lead a team of private bankers who are focused on clients who are based in the UK, so kind of ultra high net worth individuals. And we give them investment advice, banking advice. We help them with their planning in terms of what they're trying to do in the future, aligned to their goals. And then I also sit on the management team of that department of the private bank as well for the UK.
So, I need to ask you the question because everyone's going to ask ultra high net worth, what is the number to qualify?
Different organizations have different kind of bands and different numbers, but I think broadly the industry would probably say anyone who has liquid assets, so investable assets, cash, securities, that are £5 million, $5 million
Oh, is that it?
and up, tend to be
5 million?
deemed to be
Dollars as well, not pounds.
dollars, pounds
Well, no, it doesn't matter
tend to be
'cause
deemed to be high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals. But again, it varies. Every institution in the industry will carve out what they deem to be that number.
based on, I'm assuming, how many bankers, private bankers they have at their disposal, how much staff, because it's time, isn't it? The more clients.
It's also they're different variables that each organization will use. But the summary is it's think of retail, and then mass affluent, which is kind of the next tier over that, and then you get into high net worth, and then you get into ultra high net worth.
So if ultra is 5 million, what's high?
You can kind of then go a little bit lower than that, right? Again, again, don't forget, this is not your net worth,
Yeah. This is
right? This is you basically being able to move
money.
something from one place to another,
Right.
as opposed you can't move your house
Yeah,
from one
exactly.
place to another.
That's a good
So
way.
again, they're different measures, because some people will measure your net worth, which includes your property and all sorts of other things, your investments, and then that number gets larger and larger. So you can actually use the net worth, or you can use the investable assets, and you can kind of. But someone who's got, again, don't forget, someone who's got £5 million, $5 million that they can move, probably has a home, probably has a business, and that number keeps growing higher and higher. So
Interesting then. I don't know if you know the data offhand, because I know this is not even what we're here to talk about, but I'm interested.
no, carry on.
So with your customers, for people that are ultra high net worth, how many of them are employees of companies versus entrepreneurs or owners of businesses?
The industry. The interesting thing about the industry is you get a varied range of individuals who've done different things with their lives, have made their wealth in different ways. So there isn't really a percentage. I think and it's one of the things that I enjoy about the role, is you just get to meet a variety of people who've done very exciting things, and at the end of the day, they're just like you and me. They have a family, they have goals that they're trying to achieve, short, medium, and long term, for the wealth that they have, and you get to be part of that story. You kind of have to have significant duty of care, think about the individual, and put that all together and just support that piece of their entire life. Obviously, you can't get involved with everything, but you can try and get involved with that and support them. So it's varied sources of wealth, but
Excellent.
Interesting as well.
Good. Well, I'm going to stop there because I really want to dig, but we'll come back. So tell us, where did it all begin? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria.
Sorry.
I was born in Lagos. I grew up in Lagos. Very proud to have done that. I went to school in Lagos till I was 17, and then at 17, my mum decided it was a good idea that I should head off to Ireland. So I went to Ireland for a couple of years. And then when I finished that, I took a gap year. Actually, took 2 gap years, to be honest with you. Some of that was in the UK, some of that was back in Nigeria, and then moved to the UK to start university.
Right. So let's go right back. First question, because people are going to say, Why would you go from Nigeria to Ireland? What's in Ireland? Obviously.
So this is, I get the question a lot. So my mother, Ireland is actually great, by the way, and I'm big fan and still very close to people there. She had found out that the educational standards were much higher. She also felt that I was going to kind of lose my way if I come to the UK.
Why?
Potentially, she just thought. It
Oh,
was
okay,
just
okay.
an assumption. So she thought, I'm going to send you to Ireland. You're going to do boarding school in Ireland. And I thought, okay.
Oh, you did boarding school?
I did boarding school in Ireland.
Right.
A very, very religious boarding school. We were in chapel every single day,
Wow.
Monday to Monday.
Was you in boarding school in Nigeria or private?
No, I wasn't in boarding school in Nigeria. I did 2 years of boarding in Nigeria, but mostly it wasn't boarding.
So just normal public school?
Yeah, so it was fee paying school.
Okay.
So kind of grew up in, I'd say a middle class family. I think as the years kind of went on in Nigeria, I think you kind of had that middle class kind of really get pulled. But again, very lucky to, my parents supported me education wise. They definitely had a big focus on education in our household.
And how were you academically in Nigeria?
I was okay.
Define okay.
Okay is I was at the top quartile of my class. Is that a better?
Because okay means you get by. If you're on the top, if the fact you can even say the word top suggests that you were like
quartile. Yeah, top quartile. Yeah, top quartile.
What was there a subject that you would say that you excelled at more than others?
Math and chemistry and physics. Those three.
And in the class of 30, would you be in the top 5?
Most of the time.
Got it. Cool.
Yes.
And then you come to the island.
There's an interesting story about that, so I'm going to actually roll back on that.
Let's do it.
Actually, no, we'll do it afterwards. But I think the interesting thing is, having gone through that through education, to then jump into my role at the private bank when I started at the private bank. It was actually interesting to see just when you suddenly get into an organization where everybody's very, very good. And then suddenly you feel like you're bottom quartile.
Right. I see what you mean.
And it takes a lot mentally to kind of get over that hurdle. So every time I speak to people who've just started, my first message to them is, it's okay. People are going to tell you you're doing everything wrong for the first 6 months, but it's fine. Just keep at it, keep learning, keep taking on the feedback. You're probably going to hear more you did it wrong than you did it right, and it's okay. And it was actually an interesting one because I'd spent pretty much, kind of through education, it was...
You're brilliant.
It was fine.
They were bowing.
You're doing well. You're kind of top quartile. I was never number one.
Yeah.
But you're definitely, I was not in the middle. I wasn't at the bottom. So when you then suddenly go into an institution or a group of people, and then suddenly you're kind of like, hang on, this is weird. Everyone around me knows a lot more and sound a lot more intelligent. It was an interesting one.
So did you almost have the local champion syndrome? Where you realize that I was good, but I was just the local champion. By the way, that's a Nigerian thing, guys.
Yeah. No. There was, but then as the years went by, I then realized actually what really is behind all of that. It's just the years of experience. That's all it was. So even like the person who was 2 or 3 years ahead would still sound a lot smarter and, would say, oh no, you did that wrong and blah, blah, blah. But the reality was, it was just that they'd been in the industry for 2 or 3 years, they knew more and that was it. So again, I try and, support the young people coming up just to say, look, it's going to be fine. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days, just push through. And you'll be surprised in a year's time, the intern or the graduate comes in and they're asking you questions and you're answering the questions and you don't realize, oh, hang on, I actually do know quite a lot. And they're looking at you like a genius and they feel the same way you feel right now.
So in secondary school or education in Nigeria, you're very academic, not sporty? Or was you
Correct. Academic, not sporty.
Cool.
Correct.
And you do...
Probably still.
Still no sports?
Still minimal sports, still.
All good.
I'm a big fan of football and Formula One, but still, I'm an Arsenal fan. I put that out there every day.
It's not I don't get involved in political conversations, so we'll move on. So you do A-levels. Is it A-level equivalent in Ireland?
Yes, in Ireland, that's correct. Do A-level
What do you
equivalent.
study?
In Ireland, you do 6 subjects, and you're exempt from Irish, and so different to kind of I don't know what it's called, A levels. Is it still called A levels?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I
I
hope
hope
so.
so.
But you do 6, so I picked science subjects and I put economics on there, which again is not typical.
Especially back then.
Well, it's just not. You were either the science route or you were the non-science route. So I actually had to do a lot of my economics because I enjoyed economics as well through Nigeria. So I had to do economics technically off the timetable. So I did it basically self-study through those 2 years, and I wanted to keep that because I enjoyed it and I just felt it would come in handy at some point.
So why didn't you major in economics? Why did it become an additional?
In terms of at A levels, it was an additional because I think the way the school was set up, if you did the science stream, you weren't able or eligible to take.
So why did you do the
economics.
science one then? Did you want to be able to become a doctor?
I was good at science, chemistry, physics, maths. Not great with my English kind of literature and all that stuff. So it was always the science stream was definitely always going to be the best route for me.
Right.
But just came up with a kind of arrangement with the school. I said I'll self-study, and I did actually self-study for 2 years. I actually just remember that.
So the person that you said you're okay, can we just really rewind? You said
Yes.
you're okay, but you're now doing science as A levels. Some of
Yes.
us were just managing the ones that we had, and then you now did an additional ones off book. So you actually did off book education.
But yes, but that's 6 years. But again, the Nigerian setup is you complete secondary school.
Yeah.
And then you go into kind of the Irish or the UK system, and then you're almost slightly rolling back, different syllabus, but still slightly rolling back, and then you push forward again. So there was a foundation. So it wasn't kind of from nowhere. I didn't kind of go from 0 to kind of A-level economics. So there was a foundation, and the teachers would support.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't go to the classes.
Right.
So I was getting all the material
Wow.
that they were getting in class, and then
And you're a 17-year-old.
no, this is so then 18, 19, because you kind of 17 left Nigeria, 18, 19.
And you didn't. And did you know at this point? Actually, before I ask that question, first question is culturally, going from Nigeria, English, obviously is there, plus the Yoruba, etc. And then you now move across. How was that for you?
Tough, yeah, really tough.
How?
Especially going to Ireland as well, because occasionally I'd gone on holiday to the UK, but never to Ireland. So it was literally brand new country. Off you go, no family support whatsoever. So half terms, people would be heading off to back home. And occasionally, my brother was in the UK at the time. Occasionally, I would go back and see my brother, but not all the time. So occasionally, I would actually go home with a friend from school and spend half term with them, which is quite nice actually.
So what wasn't good about moving to Ireland?
I think it's just a change of culture. It's a complete change of culture. I think that's probably the toughest thing. You
What was the change that kind of not irritated you, but
weather. The weather. Weather.
it was cold?
The cold is one thing, but I think reality is it rains a lot in Ireland. That's just it is what it is. So yeah, that cold you can kind of manage. Rain and cold, not pleasant.
It's always dark essentially.
Yeah,
It's the sunshine every day.
Correct. And a very, very strict boarding school. So it was that probably.
Did they have the
was
cane?
No, not at all.
I have to ask. You
No,
never know.
not at all.
Because the way you said it, I can almost feel like there was
No,
a
but just
trigger.
I think it was strict from a they had, and I think that's why my mother actually wanted me to kind of stay in that setup, which is just try not to get distracted. She probably saw something I didn't see in terms of where I was going.
Was it boys as well?
No, mixed.
Oh, it was mixed.
It was mixed. It
Okay,
was
so
mixed.
she trusted you to that extent.
Yeah, she trusted me on that piece. Yeah, correct. But it was mixed in terms of it was good discipline. Enough good academic, good discipline balance, which was good.
So you did Ireland, and then for 2 years,
Yes.
in terms of the A levels, then you took gap years.
Yes.
Why gap years?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Nice. You wanted to tick the box.
I wanted to,
The
I like
Nigerian
that.
box.
I like that. I wanted to be a doctor. My dad had been a doctor. My dad passed away when I was 12.
Oh, sorry for that.
That's all right. But it's one of those things where you're being pulled into something that you know, there's the emotion and you haven't kind of gone through the kind of the logic
Yeah.
as it was. And you're good at science. So all the science are saying, no, you should do this. But I wanted to do it in the UK. I didn't want to stay in Ireland.
Yeah.
So I had the grades to do it in Ireland. I was on the cusp to do it in the UK. So I'd done a first attempt, which was unsuccessful,
What's the first attempt?
of trying to get into unis for medicine in the UK, which didn't work. So I just decided to kind
Is it you didn't have the UCAS points or?
Yeah, so the UK had a way of converting your Irish grades into UK grades, and it literally was just on the cusp.
Right. So is that your first academic rejection? Like in terms of you're not the top quarter?
Yes, correct.
How did that work?
Oh,
Self-esteem?
a huge blow. Rocked massively. Had an impact on my relationship with my mum, actually.
Why? Because she was like...
No, just in terms, I just turned into a rebel, pretty much.
So you like kind of like applied, didn't get in, rejected, and it's
and then just kind of just started to just try to figure it out.
And was that in the UK you were figuring out or in Ireland?
So part UK. So when that didn't work out, spent a bit of time in the UK.
Doing
just
what?
Not doing anything, just hanging out with my brother. My brother was working at the time,
Right.
I just stayed in the UK.
What's the age difference?
Good question. The age difference is 8 years.
So that means he's kind of living his best life, no kids, no family?
When now?
When
correct.
So that means you were two boys in London, no parents around.
No, to be, if anything, and
you were living and he was working.
Well, he was working and I wasn't.
No, that's what I mean. He was working, but you were living off his working.
I say, So would I say he was living his best? I think I was more of a pain than for him than he needed, to be fair. But he's lovely. So yeah.
Brilliant. So why the
and then I went back to Nigeria actually to try.
Because of your you wanted to go back or you were sent back?
No,
there's a difference.
Good point. Very good point. I was sent back.
Got it.
I was sent back.
So then we've got two blows.
That was also again a recipe for part of the rebellion.
Because you now are in control, you know kind of who you are.
Yes.
I feel like there was a level of confidence in yourself because of your education and your affirmation you received. Then you now take a different path which you've chosen.
Yes.
Doesn't work out.
Yes.
But then also, is it also a bit, and I'm obviously reaching maybe, is the fact that you tried to follow your father's path and you almost felt like maybe you let him down because you weren't able to get in that field? Or was it more of a realization that actually I don't know what I want to do, so I'm lost a bit?
Yeah, I think it was a bit more of the lost piece. The kind of getting the cusp thing was a massive blessing in disguise, and just not being able to know the direction of travel. A bit of FOMO, I'd probably say, because you got your peers who are all
and also you started. Later as well,
correct. So if you roll back, 17, a few people do the same track that you do. They do 2 years. So and then suddenly they're going on to uni and you're not. And then, there's obviously a group of friends who obviously stayed in Nigeria, never left Nigeria, and they go straight into uni as well. So so I think there was a little bit of FOMO in that piece as well. So I think that was really what was driving the rebellion, I think, mostly.
So then you get sent back to Nigeria.
And then try and figure out what the next steps were.
Is that 1 year in Nigeria or 2?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Spent the time working with a fantastic guy who is based in the UK now and has his family in the UK. And he started a small business, and I joined that small business to kind of just help him.
What were they doing?
Interestingly, they were pizza business.
Okay.
Yeah. It was good. It was actually a really good time.
Takeaway or restaurant?
Yes, both.
Okay.
So it was actually good to kind of just roll back and kind of go into, you're 19 and someone's kind of showing you what it does look like to be an entrepreneur for a small business, a startup and all that stuff. So that was good. And then luckily I had one of my, he was actually a family friend, who was super successful at the time in Nigeria, who took me on his wing and pulled me in and just kind of said, we got to fix this. And kind of played a bit of father figure role and just kind of said, because obviously my mum was kind of losing.
Because I was going to say,
my mum was losing it at this point. She's just like, I
you're
don't know
in-
where this guy's
Yeah,
going.
it's like we've invested, pumped all this money into the
Yes,
education.
correct.
And I know two things that you'll definitely be hearing. Your siblings are doing well. What are you doing?
Yeah, correct.
Second thing is when you actually said the kind of the father figure role model that picked you up. I know actually how that conversation. It wasn't as smooth as you're saying. I know it was a bit more intense.
I had a lot of respect for him. I still do. So it was one of those things where the moment he pulls you in and says, "Let's have a chat," you're kind of looking for, okay, what could it be? Could it be this? Could it be that? And you're trying to think, have I done anything wrong in the last, And then he just kind of said, "Look, we've got to figure this thing out. Go figure out anything else that you consider doing.
Yeah.
That's not medicine."
Right.
And come back to me, and then
So is the medicine? Is it still?
it was still brewing. It was still brewing.
Wow,
Interestingly,
wow.
it was actually still brewing. And he just said, "Go figure anything else out that you would do, just anything, and then come back and let's just have a chat." So I went away. Took about a week. I'd always enjoyed kind of fixing things, kind of gadgets and stuff. I'd take things apart, put them back together. Growing up, so I kind of looked at engineering. I looked at all the different engineerings and I kind of thought, okay, actually, electronic kind of sounds about right in terms of all the things I like. And that was it. So went back to him and said, I think it's electronic engineering. And he was like, okay, go off. So it was kind of a lot of back and forth. He then went off and said, okay, good. Now go off and go find a couple of universities and see if obviously your grades do meet. And I was like, yeah, the grades do meet. And I looked at a couple of universities and
In the UK only.
in the UK, yes, that was a clear focus for me. Because growing up in Nigeria, you're thinking UK, you're maybe thinking US.
Yeah.
UK was definitely my focus.
And then you choose to go to what uni?
University of Surrey.
Cool.
Which, proud alum of
Nice.
University of Surrey. So yeah.
And you study what?
Never been before, so did all my research online.
Oh, you didn't come for taster?
All my research was online. Every single piece of it was
So
online.
why Surrey, especially electronic engineering?
They were top 5 at the time.
Right.
They were top 5 at the time.
And did you do sandwich there? Or did you go straight through?
No, went straight through because my Irish Leaving Cert grades were good enough.
Okay, so
went
you didn't do
straight
work placement when I say sandwich.
Oh, sorry. So I didn't do a work placement. Another interesting story. I did try to do engineering work placement and didn't work out. And at the same time, I was also applying for banking placements, which didn't work out too. So I didn't do a banking placement either.
You study electronic engineering.
Yes.
And what do you get up to at Surrey? Is it easy academically?
Academically, it was okay. And
Define okay?
This is okay is okay.
So we're not top quartile?
No, I don't think so. I
So we-
I don't know.
2-1? Are we at 2-1?
Yeah,
Do you not work
something. Yeah, correct.
But then is that because you had other things you were focusing on, or is it because this was new?
New.
Right,
Like
okay.
an engineering degree is a tough degree. I chose it because I wanted to kind of apply myself based on what we talked about. Surrey was interesting because after the first year, I realized I didn't want to kind of pursue engineering, and I actually made that decision at the end of my first year.
Why?
I wanted a career with more people interaction. And again, you have to roll, this is like 2002, you roll back, this is pre, the tech boom. My job options were, I go into Sony or I go into Samsung and, that kind of stuff. It was very much boring kind of tech, as it were, as opposed to kind of, software tech that we see today and everyone gets excited and all the startups. So yeah. I made that decision at the end of my first year. So that was one thing that kind of kept me a bit busy. So trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to pursue finance and trying to do my research on that.
Why finance?
I thought that was where I could use my math skills. I wanted to be more people focused, and finance does give you the opportunity to do that. So you kind of balance the kind of, I actually enjoy, being busy. I've always have. So that was another thing. So I looked at all the different career options, and I thought that was an interesting one. And again, as a young person, you're also somewhat attracted to the compensation that you get in finance as well.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
So they're kind of multiple streams there. What else did I get up to in Surrey? I did lots of volunteering. That was the beginning of my journey of getting involved with the student union at the University of Surrey. And then also you then kind of wrap that in as well. You get involved in clubs and societies. So I was a member of a Africa Caribbean Society.
A member, or wasn't you the president?
Well, you start as a member.
Oh, okay.
You start as a member, and then my second year became the president of the ACS.
So just
Surrey.
to obviously make sure people understand the pictures, does that mean you organised all the Surrey parties and all the party buses?
Yes, but being the person that I am, I wanted it to be more than just parties. So I also tried to start looking at careers and
Okay.
talks and all that stuff as well.
Oh, so you organised that for...
Yes. So we tried our best to do that. But yes, broadly, ACSs always get a bad look as only being focused on parties. But yeah, they do more than that. So did that. And then in my final year, worked with the Students' Union and became the head of events for the Students' Union, which is a student role, but you're basically just supporting a union to pick who gets to play at the union and the calendar of events, which day is it going to be, kind of dress up week and all that stuff. So you just kind of help them create that stuff as well. So quite proud of that one. I was actually quite proud of. Got Trevor Nelson to University of Surrey. I thought that was quite cool. I'm a big Trevor Nelson fan.
Nice.
So that was cool. So it was quite busy.
So you graduate university, but question, so third year, you know where you're tracking academically, you now said I'm doing finance, you tried to get a placement.
Tried to get a placement, wasn't successful. Just, dust it off and get up again and go. And then focused on the grad roles, which is when I then did the kind of 35 applications
and you got
three interviews. And for 3 banks.
And when you say banks, because obviously there's different types of banks, you've got retail, you've got investment,
yes,
you've
correct.
got corporate. Were you trying to get into any type, or was
all investments?
All investment. Okay,
yes, and I got three interviews, 3 investment banks.
How many offers?
1.
1?
Yes, the one I'd say 1.5.
Was it
because there was one, and then there was a half, which kept saying, "Oh, have you got any other offers anywhere else?" Yeah, I know. But you know what? You learn from those things actually, because I think having been through what had happened with kind of back where I was much younger, going through the rebellious phase, coming out of it, starting university at 21.
Yeah.
Because if you do the math, I was 21. You're in a different mindset. Like, and my brother gave me kind of the best advice ever. He said, make the most of university and get involved in things outside of academics. So it was his advice that got me to walk into the student union and say, hi, I want to be a volunteer, which led to kind of so many other things beyond that. So yeah, it was very much kind of, it wasn't working out, but they kept saying, have you got an offer anywhere else? And I kept saying no. And I'm still sitting there waiting for an offer.
To have a competing offer. So
basically. And then eventually the company I work for now gave me an offer to join their grad program, which was for their finance, business management, and technology stream. Because they've got 2 streams. They've got kind of client-facing front office, and then they've got kind of business management, finance, and tech. So I got that offer. And sorry, I should add, before I left Surrey, I then had an extra year because I then became student union president for the University of Surrey.
Right. Why did you do that?
So I deferred my current...
Oh, so you got the offer and you deferred it?
I got my offer.
It?
Yes. They were more than happy
Did you get first class?
No. But they said we are very happy that you're deciding to take a year. I said, do you want to know what I'm doing? They were like, nope, we don't need to know what you're doing, but we'll look forward to seeing you in. It was 2000, and we look forward to seeing you in 2006.
So I'm trying to really understand. So, for context, you apply for 30 banks.
Yes.
You get 3 interviews. You get 1 offer, 1.5 offers.
Yes.
And you get your offer before you graduate.
Yes, correct.
When did you decide to? Did you know before you were applying that you were going to be a student union president?
No.
So how did that come about?
That was a decision. There was a tricky moment. So you apply to get on the ticket to be voted for, and then you do all the kind of campaigning, and then the offer comes through, and the result comes through, and they came roughly at the same time.
Wow.
It was obviously, there was the rumor mill of both things happening, so people kind of started questioning if I was committed to the job of wanting to be student union president. And I gave the company a call, and they were like, it's okay, you want to take a year off? And I was like, do you want to know what I'm doing? They're like, no, we don't need to know. So I accepted, and I carried on and did student union president for a year.
Question.
Yeah.
Regarding the company that you work for, just to give everyone context, we're talking about top 1% of the 1% in terms of the people that they hire. What do you think, one, were they willing to wait for you? And why do you think, considering you didn't get a first class, and you didn't go to a red, because Surrey's not red brick, is it?
No.
So why do you think they said yes to you?
I think it's back to the values of an organization, right? I think their view is, if you've ticked all the boxes and met all the criteria, and we're going to be hiring people every year, I think the view that they took was, that's fine, we'll just, we've found talent that we're happy to.
And do you think you know why they said yes to you?
No.
Because that's the thing I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the 1% of the one, and you had no prior any banking experience. Because you've interviewed people before who had prior banking experience.
Correct. I had zero. I've genuinely not bumped into the people who interviewed me ever, which is another thing that has been a shame. I've always wanted to bump into them to ask.
What did you say in your interview? Did you have a good story? Did you have a good pitch?
No, I just learned. I learned from my mistakes of all the things I did wrong at placement year, trying to get the placement year, right? So, or even internships, because I tried to get both.
What were the mistakes?
Just interview skills.
Like, well, what things do you say you think you worked on?
How you construct an answer, how you. The construction of an answer in an interview, it just needs to be watertight if you're going to get the right outcomes. And I read a couple of books on interview skills, did all the practicing with friends and family. I really, when you do the work. You do the work. So I really, again, rather than just kind of rebel, after getting that disappointment, I just kind of said, look, I'm gonna crack this thing. And
you cracked it.
Yeah, and
the best. The best of the best.
I really do think it's the values of the company. Really do. Compared to, the other organization who kind of said, tell me if there's another offer and then we'll give you an offer. And it's the strangest conversation you can actually have.
Okay, cool.
Forward